In the Hebrew Bible, the book of Exodus describes how the Jewish people suffered as slaves living in Egypt. Then sometime in the 14th century BC, the ruling pharaoh feared their growing numbers and ordered the killing of all firstborn Jews living in Egypt. In an effort to save her son, one mother put her child in a small basket and set him adrift on the Nile River. That child was found by the pharaoh's family, who named him Moses and raised him as their own. As an adult, Moses discovered his true identity and demanded that the pharaoh free the Jews. When the pharaoh rejected him, Moses helped the Jews escape from Egypt. Historians believe that Moses and his people crossed the Red Sea and made their way into the Sinai desert. According to the ancient texts, God grew angry at the Jews for idol worshiping and forced them to wander the desert aimlessly for 40 years before allowing them to enter Israel. During this time, the Bible says the Israelites survived by eating a single food source, manna. But what is manna? A naturally abundant food provided by God? Or, as some believe, something very different?
In the Bible, it explains how the Israelites got from Egypt, where they'd been slaves, to the Promised Land. They had to cross the Sinai desert. And inevitably, given that there was a lot of Israelites and very little growing as it was a desert, they ran short on supplies. God stepped in at this point and sent manna from heaven. This took the form of some kind of seeds that rained down upon the desert, and then they were collected the next day, and they provided food for the Israelites, except Friday, when there was a double portion, because on Saturday, being the Sabbath, it didn't fall.
While the Hebrew Bible fails to give a clear description of manna, another ancient Jewish text provides an alternative clue. The Zohar is a collection of spiritual commentaries and interpretations of the Torah and is central to the mystical Kabbalah belief written in the 13th century. The Zohar describes what is called the Ancient of Days as providing the manna. But what was this Ancient of Days? A man, a god, or something else?
The text speaks of different-sized brains, different-sized faces. They were connected with different tubes and different light sources. Theologians have suggested that this is the description of God. However, when looked at from a modern perspective, what is described in the Zohar isn't necessarily a God figure, but rather a type of machine.
Intrigued by this information, two electrical engineers, George Sassoon and Rodney Dale, used the anatomical descriptions of the Ancient of Days to design what they called a manna machine.
This really is the key diagram of the manna machine as we built it up from the texts. For instance, one here is the mouth, but it's actually the air intake, which carries what is described as the breath of life. The air goes up this tube here, which is described as the brain of the Ancient One, but is actually a dew still. So that although we were talking about the great sea and the hairs of the beard and so on, at the same time we were able to work out their relative positions, build up the specification of the machine, and find that we had something that was biochemically viable.
Diese Maschine hatte einen Ansaugstutzen.
The machine took in moist morning air and condensed it in the part of the machine that looked like a plexiglass dome. From there, it mixed with an algae culture. The culture was treated with energy, such as a strong laser light, in order to speed the growth.
Das Algenwachstum beschleunigt.
Of course, it needed energy for cultivating the alga, and this was produced, we postulate, in a small nuclear reactor which would produce both heat and light as required.
Die Manna-Maschine war wahrscheinlich
The manna machine was a very dangerous device. We suspect that the reactor that powered the machine was transported in the Ark of the Covenant.
transportiert wurde.
We have multiple references in the Bible that whoever came close to the Ark of the Covenant and didn't know how to operate it was smitten to death. And sometimes people, after they encountered the Ark, started to lose their nails and started to lose their hair. So we have evidence of some type of radiation poisoning which was in direct correlation with the Ark of the Covenant. And so the Ark of the Covenant housed an extraterrestrial device which was given to the Israelites during their 40-year wandering through the desert.